Like, this just sounds like such a mess. Like, what are you doing?
This is what happens when you graduate from medical school having performed less than 100 surgeries.
Yeah.
And someone sends you on your own
Mm-hmm.
and says, yeah, go do that.
Healthcare horrors. Murder. All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Healthcare Horrors. I'm Ashlee, a brand specialist at Atlas.
I'm Alicia. I'm a recruiter.
And I'm Dolan.
That's it.
What's your title? What do you do?
Also a brand specialist at Atlas.
He's a knob turner.
On the knobs.
Well, today we're going to talk about infamous spine surgeon. I don't really want to call him a surgeon. He was, but man, calling him that is just kind of ironic. So his name is Christopher Duntsch.
Duntsch.
How long have you been waiting to do that?
Oh man, like 2 weeks, or whenever we were last recording.
Okay, so about a week.
Yeah, about a week.
I'm so glad that this opportunity presented itself for you.
I feel like it's been longer than that, because since we started this year talking about a spine doctor, and we had to figure out who it was.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now we started from the bottom.
Here we are.
All right. Well, without further ado, Christopher Duntsch was born in Montana, and he spent most of his youth in Memphis, Tennessee. His father's name was Donald, and he was a physical therapist and a Christian missionary, and his mother's name was Susan, and she was a school teacher. So,
sounds like a lovely family.
Yeah. So I think it's going to turn out that most of Chris's problems are just Chris problems, and not due to the environment in which he grew up in, which is rare for the people we talk about on this podcast. So Christopher Duntsch was and is, a graduate of an evangelical Christian school in the Cordova suburb of Memphis, and that is where he became a football star.
Oh.
He wanted to become a huge football star.
Yeah, I have a funny story I'll tell about Chris and football.
Uh-oh.
Later down the road. So, Duntsch initially attended Millsaps College to play Division III college football. So he's not that good, guys. And later transferred to Division I. Okay, now he's good. Colorado State University. Former teammates later said that while Duntsch trained really hard, he lacked talent at the game. And what they mean by this is he would do these drills over and over and over again until he could get them. But I mean, this took an immense amount of dedication and focus, and he had tunnel vision. And often the coach would be like, hey, let's just move on. Like, you're not getting this down. But like, he was so determined and focused that he had to try and try until he got it down to perfection. And a lot of times people thought that this was such an amazing quality of Chris Duntsch, but it later comes into play as like a psychotic problem for him.
It kind of sounds like OCD.
Well, which we'll find out later in how he conducts his surgeries and how all that shakes out. So he trained hard, but he was not talented. Chris Duntsch returned home to attend Memphis State University, which is now the University of Memphis. Having exhausted all of his football eligibility, Duntsch decided to switch to a career in medicine. Duntsch completed his undergraduate degree in 1995, and then he continued on to a very ambitious MD PhD program. In 2010, he completed the MD, PhD, and Neurosurgery residency program at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center, and subsequently completed a spine fellowship program at the Semes Murphy Clinic in Memphis.
So everything on paper looks amazing for this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks like he's got it all together and like he's got it going on. Duntsch completed his residency having participated in fewer than 100 surgeries. And now if you've ever heard to be an expert at anything, you have to practice for like 10,000 hours. So the violin, piano, painting, whatever, to be considered an expert, you have to practice it for 10,000 hours. I'm going to go ahead and say that 100 surgeries does not equate to 10,000 hours.
Yeah, no, I do remember hearing about that he did 100, but other like surgeons in the residency did what, like 1,000?
Yeah, so the typical neurosurgery resident participates in over 1,000 surgeries in the course of their residency. He was suspected of being under the influence of cocaine while operating during his 4th year of residency, upon which he was sent to an impaired physicians program before being allowed to return to his residency program.
He was a partier in college, for
if
sure.
If you were doing cocaine during a surgery in your residency here in the year of 2021, they wouldn't send you to some rehab program and let you come back. You're done.
Yep.
Totally
Done.
done.
So, ruined.
Yeah.
So several of his friends recalled that he was going to work after a night of doing drugs, with one of them saying that they would never allow Duntsch to operate on him. While he was in Memphis, Chris Duntsch, began a long-term relationship with a young lady named Wendy Renee Young, and they have 2 sons. Initially, Duntsch focused heavily on the PhD half of his degree. His name appeared on several papers and patents, and he took part in a number of biotech startups. However, by the time he met Wendy, Duntsch had over $500,000 in debt, so he decided to return to neurosurgery, which is extremely lucrative. In 2010, Duntsch moved to Dallas, and he persuaded Wendy to come with him, and she agreed to it because she had grown up in the Dallas area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were living together, and they had their little family, so they moved there together.
Mm-hmm. Upon applying for work, he looked extremely qualified on paper. He had spent a total of 15 years in training. That's a long time. So medical school, residency, and fellowship combined, and his curriculum vitae was 12 single-spaced pages, so it was really long. Duntsch also claimed to have graduated magna cum laude from St. Jude Children's Research Hospital with a doctorate in microbiology, a program that the hospital did not offer at the time he allegedly attended. So he's a liar.
Yes, definitely lies a lot on paper.
And then, and whose job is it to be checking this stuff? Come on. So many people dropping the ball. And then Duntsch joined Baylor Regional Medical Center at Plano, which is now Baylor Scott and White Medical Center, Plano. And he joined them as a minimally invasive spine surgeon with a salary of $600,000 per year plus bonuses.
Yes, and this $600,000 was an advancement that he got up front, like right away. So debt is paid off, or at least it should have been.
And now he's got $100,000.
Yeah, I don't think he ever really paid off his debt because his debt continues to grow. All right, so yes, we are at the Baylor Regional Medical Center. Skim through my notes. Complaints of substance abuse from his supervisors while he's there. He also, I don't know if you touched on this, but he helped start a company called Discgenics. Did you mention that at all?
I haven't mentioned that, no.
Okay. So really quick, he co-founded a company in 2008 called Discgenics. This was a company to heal spinal injuries with stem cell technology. Dun, 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 dun. And he eventually...
Dunch.
He's a much better researcher than he is an actual surgeon.
Yeah. Discgenics fails after 3 years because
he's a failure?
Well, that's exactly it. He fails to pay in money and stock. So he gets sued by a chief operating officer, and the partners basically kick him out of the business. So that hurts his reputation for a little bit, but, he just...
But not really.
Yeah. All right. So, and I know some of the people involved in this company pop up later on, so I wanted to mention that. So his work ethic was praised by some, even though he continues to abuse substances. He's given surgical privileges by the Minimally Invasive Spine Institute.
And I would like to preface this and say that any of the surgeries that Chris Duntsch does are not minimally invasive whatsoever, even though they are supposed to be.
So he begins having an affair with his assistant.
Oh, I forgot about her.
He's got a crazy ego, of course. He is loud and arrogant. He boasts about being a neurosurgeon, even though he apparently doesn't even know how to use a scalpel correctly. Someone comments on that.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're a surgeon and you don't use a scalpel correctly. Okay, that would be like Surgeon 101, I would assume. So he begins scheduling surgeries that he is incredibly unprepared for. He'll like show up late or not order the right equipment for the surgery. His supervisors know something just isn't right about him. But so much money was spent on recruiting him. I mean, they gave him $600,000 up front, so they want to try and work with him instead of just kicking him to the curb. So I have September 2011, a minor operation. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. September 2011, he schedules a minor operation, but then he goes to Vegas right after the operation and like doesn't tell anyone at the hospital that he's leaving. And, you know, there's certain protocols a doctor has to do before they leave because these patients are in post-surgery and, you know, they're not being discharged. Like, I mean, I would assume a nurse is checking on them, but eventually someone's like,
well, he's supposed
your
to
doctor?
be there. Well, and that's the thing is he's supposed to be there for, you know, making sure that everything's good to go after surgery. And, you know, if there's any complications, he needs to be around to correct if that's the case.
Yeah. So then and there, he should have been cited for malpractice and negligence.
But he wasn't.
He wasn't. Because, again, they gave him all this money up front and they want to protect their investments. You know, like a hospital is a business, and like any business, they do want to protect their investments. And a lot of this comes down to money.
And image.
And image, yes. So, yeah, another doctor gets involved, obviously, because they realize Duntsch isn't there. But one day he just casually returns to work like nothing ever happened, like it was totally okay. This head doctor terminated Duntsch after 3 months. So, let's see, fall 2011. So we're still in 2011. He is allowed to keep working at a different hospital.
Do you have anything in there about what this is the surgery before when he took off to Vegas? Do you have her name and what he did? Because what happened with that is he totally jacked up her surgery and did the wrong thing. And
I don't have like her name, but I did hear that there was another surgery where he operated on and he didn't even operate like on the right part of this person's body.
Exactly. And then he takes off, and then this is when the other doctor steps in, and this is how it all comes about, that he's doing surgery badly, and this doctor says, hey, either you guys have someone who is maliciously intending to do these things to people, or someone who's just very bad at their job. And he starts, you know, when the hospital system doesn't want to start acknowledging this or investigating it, he sends Chris Duntsch's picture to the university that he graduated from, and they're like, hey, he's like, is this the guy? Because he's trying to make sure it's someone not impersonating Chris Duntsch, because he's so bad at surgery.
Yeah, I don't think I heard about that one.
Well, this is how.
And that was the first one.
The downfall of Chris Duntsch.
And this is the same surgery before he takes off to Vegas?
Yes, and because she needed, because this other surgeon goes in and opens her up and sees like her back is like massacred.
This is later. That wasn't this one.
Okay.
This was like a first like small operation that I guess wasn't too crazy, but yeah. We get to that crazy botched one. I mean, they're all botched technically with this guy.
Yeah. But but they're like, yep, nope, that's Chris Duntsch. Great guy. We loved him.
Yeah, he moves on to another hospital, and I didn't write down which one it was. And I was kind of confused on how being a surgeon works, I guess, because we keep referring to Baylor Plano. So that's like the place that
That's a hospital.
employed him. Well, it sounds like that's who employed him.
I know, but it's actually a building.
Okay.
I've seen it.
But he like has some sort of contract with them, but goes to different hospitals.
They have other facilities.
Okay.
There's more than
so
one.
maybe that was just
So
it.
it's
Okay.
like, it's like CHI.
Okay.
It's like Methodist.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just the parent company.
Okay, parent company. That's a good way to put it.
All of these, it's like for us, like we've got
Children's.
children, an atrium and like all those. It's just a parent company.
Cool.
It's a hospital system.
Cool. All right, so we're getting into another surgery, a spinal fusion, where a doctor is told to assist Duntsch, and this doctor realizes that something is incredibly wrong while they're in surgery. Duntsch is cutting into his spine in an area that doesn't need to be touched. There's way too much blood loss, and he just kind of starts grabbing instruments and just, isn't really, he doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing.
Because he doesn't, and he's effed up on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah. He definitely does cocaine and likes his vodka, and will do this before surgery. Dr. Oil, I believe, is the doctor that was helping him, and Dr. Oil did not want to work with Duntsch after this. This same patient ends up having 2 more spine surgeries.
By Duntsch.
I don't know for sure. But
okay.
I have it written down. He has 2 more spine surgeries, and his back pain is never fixed. So probably.
He's hurting these people very permanently. Like even if they, a lot of these people live and they are disabled for life because what he's, in one surgery, he cuts a nerve that, a main nerve that you need.
Yeah.
And this person never walks again.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're going to move on to Jerry Summers, who is actually one of Chris Duntsch's old friends.
This is very messed up.
Yeah, this is one of the bad ones. So they played football together. Jerry Summers had a neck injury from football and also a car crash. So in this operation, it's called an interior cervical fusion, and Duntsch severs an artery, which he fixes with some sort of gel foam, which causes a lot of pressure in the spine. So there's no fresh oxygen circulating to where the oxygen needs to go. So when Summers wakes up, he is paralyzed from the neck down. And if I miss anything, feel free to jump in because there's so much stuff.
I know I just learned most of my stuff about him from that Dr. Death podcast.
Lots of stuff.
So yeah, I think he was back home visiting Jerry, and they were drinking and partying, I think. And then, he's like, Chris is like, yeah, I can fix that. Just come on down to Dallas.
Oh yeah, no problem.
And
wow.
You'll get the friend discount.
And, and at first Jerry's like, man, I don't think I want to do this. And then Chris is like, yeah, no, I got you. I'm super experienced. And he's like, well, my friend wouldn't steer me wrong. Totally paralyzes him. And then, of course, Jerry becomes very angry and his relationship with his girlfriend deteriorates. And then, he moves back to Memphis and he's basically just alone and shuts everybody out because now he's miserable and paralyzed. And Chris visits him once, like 3 years later, and like never apologizes for what he did.
Oh, man. Yep. I didn't know all that stuff. So yeah, obviously he wakes up paralyzed. He claims to the hospital, and it's probably a lie, at least right now, that they did cocaine together recently, like before his surgery.
I think that's probably true.
It could have been true. So the hospital wants to drug test Duntsch, but somehow he avoids it. He slips under the cracks.
Because he waited. When he was supposed to come in for it, he didn't come in. He waited and waited until it was out of his system before he came in and took the drug test.
Okay, yeah. And Duntsch passes a psychological evaluation, so he can just keep doing surgery even though this guy is paralyzed.
And this is not the first person he's hurt.
No.
So he's got a track record at this point.
Yeah. March 11th, he's given the permission to continue surgery. A 50-year-old gets referred to Duntsch. This guy's name is, lady's name is Kelly Martin. She suffers back pain. So...
Well, this lady really trusted him. Her and her husband did so much research on him, and like everything on the website that he's got looks super shiny, super clean, which it was all fake. It was like fake ads.
Oh my gosh.
And he had testimonials on there, and they weren't real patients. They're from fake patients. They're from actors, paid actors. So when things go south with Kelly here, like they are heartbroken.
So Kelly Martin goes into a minimally invasive surgery, but Duntsch slices a major blood vessel that is irreversible, and Kelly Martin bleeds to death. It was something that they just couldn't catch. I mean, sometimes they can catch those things and cauterize it, but he either didn't catch it or it couldn't be, or didn't care to. So, yeah, here we go. So the Baylor Plano Spine Institute addresses him for the malpractice. I mean, that's it, though. Like
they address it, but they don't do anything.
Yeah. In 2012, it sounds like his life is a bit of a mess.
I think he ends up unemployed for a while is what happens. Yeah. And then he still has privileges at these shady hospitals. Like he'll keep telling his patients, I think so he's consulting on these patients, and they're like, why can't we just do surgery here? Because they took away his privileges for surgery, and they told him, okay, well, you can still talk to patients and you can still do all that stuff, but you're not allowed to do surgery anymore. And so he's not allowed to do surgery here. So what he does is he's finding shady, dirty, local community hospital type places, and he's telling all these, patients, like, we're going to transfer you. We're going to do your surgery here. I have special privileges. They have state-of-the-art equipment. We're going to do it there. No, he's just doing sneaky, bad surgeries on people at facilities, when he's not supposed to be operating on anybody.
Yeah, and some of the surgeries are just not necessary. And
no.
Fun, random side note, 11% of surgeries in the U.S. are not necessary, like even to this day. Well, some surgeries just aren't necessary.
Well, no, your nose job and your Botox.
That makes sense.
Your chin reconstruction.
That's true. Is that stuff included?
I feel like study? It is. I don't know.
So November 2011, he operates on a woman, and didn't operate on the right body part. Kind of touched on that. He escapes a lawsuit. One lawsuit after another. He's still drinking. He's still doing cocaine. It gets worse. For some reason, though, he feels like he can compare himself to God, Einstein, and the Antichrist. So that's an interesting mix of people.
Yeah, he did say that, but I think by the time he said that, I mean, his brain was so just jacked from all the drugs and alcohol.
Yes. Always bragging and joking about how he can get away with these mistakes.
Well, yeah, because everyone's letting him do it.
Yeah.
Finally, another hospital asks for Duntsch's resignation, but they didn't want to expose this terrible thing and have a bad reputation, so it kind of goes off record.
And he just goes on to the next hospital.
And they even tell him, like, hey, we'll still give you like good letters of recommendation and stuff. Just don't work here. Okay, bye.
Because they're worried about themselves and not their patients, and I think that's wild.
Yeah. News of his reputation still does travel to some hospitals, though not all of them. He is still having an affair with Kimberly Morgan, his assistant.
Which is funny because she knows what's going on at this point, and I don't know why she's still, because now she's complicit.
Right.
Or that's what they're getting off on.
Maybe.
Well,
mean-
but so she
I
eventually
don't think
walks
she's
away.
that involved. Yeah. So once he
okay.
was resigned
eventually
from this
walks away.
hospital, she breaks it off with him, which enrages.
Same.
Same. So this leads to him harassing her, and she gets a restraining order against him. Like, it sounds like he was just like banging on her windows and her door, and was just like, didn't want to take no for an answer. Like, how dare you?
Well, he's used to getting everything he wants.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is his way. Now he moves on to Dallas Medical Center. They allow him into their facility. They look past his kind of crazy reputation. Again, a hospital is a business like any other. Money is important to them. And, you know, he was still paid up front, so he's still working. And so Dallas Medical Center is smaller. It's a smaller facility. There's only 100 to 150 beds. Yeah, they don't know about all of these botched surgeries that are following him. Keep in mind, this is all happening like within 1 year. So he's going from one hospital to another, and it's only been a year.
Yep. And he's got glowing letters of recommendation.
Yep, and he looks great on his resume. 64-year-old Foella Brown has neck and shoulder aches. So she is scheduled for a cervical spine surgery. This happens July 24th, 2012. It's a half-hour long surgery. Duntsch damages her vertebral artery, which is the same thing that happened to Jeremy Summers. She starts bleeding like crazy. He's very incompetent. He either didn't learn his lesson the first time or didn't care. There's so much blood that it's spilling onto the floor. Now I'm painting you a picture. And nurses are trying to clean it up as he just keeps going and tries to finish the procedure, even though he probably can't even see what he's doing. And he can't stabilize her. But she survives. She does not die.
In one of his surgeries, when the other doctor has to come in and reopen that patient, and he looks and so he was drilling holes in her spine in the wrong spots. So then he just take the screw out, so he's drilling all these holes in the wrong spots, and he's like, nope, not in the right spot. Takes the drill out, puts it in another spot, and is just drilling tons of unnecessary holes in this woman's spine. And that was when that doctor was like, this guy's incompetent. And then this is where this comes into play of like his determination. He has no talent. He's not good at what he's doing, but he's determined that no matter what, no matter how many mistakes he makes, he's going to get it right. But he's not looking at her and being like, what the hell is this going to do to this woman's body and her life?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He just would keep trying things.
Yeah.
Until it, quote unquote, worked.
Yeah.
Until he
Enough
finally
for him.
decided that he was going to close him up and call it a day.
Right.
Damn to be whatever happens after that. He's like, not my problem.
I lied. Foella doesn't survive. I guess she wakes up, but there's a blood clot that breaks loose and does clog a vessel, and she does die.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, and then there's 74-year-old Mary Effort. She has back pain, follow-up surgery. Duntsch already operated on her once. Okay, he prepares for a surgery, and while Duntsch is preparing for a surgery, a nurse notices that his pupils are like tiny little pinpoints, which I guess is a symptom of a mind-altering medication. He has holes in his scrubs, which indicates that he's been re-wearing the same scrubs and not washing them, so he's very unsanitary.
He's finally crumbling. Which, I mean, I feel like he's been crumbling. It's been obvious. I guess if it were me, I would be like, this is obvious that this guy shouldn't be doing this. But again, you're a doctor, so who's going to tell you no?
Yeah.
Did she stop him?
Mary?
Is that where he gets stopped, or he moves on to perform?
He keeps going, and I can skip ahead, but I have
30
so many
There's
notes.
at least 30 surgeries in the Dallas area that he botched, or people that he killed or hurt. There's definitely 30 different cases.
Yeah, and people know something's not right, but he's just determined to keep going, and if someone ever tries stopping him even during a surgery, he just keeps going and ignores people. I just have like so many different surgeries written down. Okay, so Robert Henderson, we'll get to him, and that is who kind of starts coming into play and wanting to stop him because he realizes what he's doing. So really quick, one of his patients named Mary has spine surgery. Dun, dun, dun.
Duntsch, Duntsch, Duntsch.
During the surgery, nurses start to argue with him, and he just gets angry and starts drilling holes into her spine, moving parts of the spine around and just replacing parts and doing God knows
like
what.
Mr. Potato Head, but with someone's spine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he eventually sews her up, whatever weird. They bring in Robert Henderson, a new doctor who assesses her x-rays and is just astounded at what he sees. There's a severed nerve that had to do with the signaling of something in the brain. Basically, the way they describe it is there's no more communication between the control tower and the pilot. So take that how you will. She's still alive, and Dr. Henderson takes Mary back into surgery and looks at her more and realizes that everything that Duntsch did to her looks very intentional.
I mean, Robert Henderson is really, he brought this to Baylor Plano. I think it was Baylor Plano still. Mm-hmm. And they just did not care.
Yeah, they just didn't do
until
anything.
He finally takes it to the cops himself and ends up, it took a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Dallas Med Center revokes Duntsch. Henderson reports him to the Texas State Medical Board. Nothing happens. He eventually goes to an outpatient clinic in 2012 called Legacy Surgery Center. Oh my God, this one is so messed up. We have to talk about this one. December 2012, he's going into surgery to relieve the neck and back pain of a patient. He slashes their vocal cords and an artery, pinned their esophagus under a plate near the spine, and somehow connects the esophagus and the trachea. Like, this just sounds like such a mess. Like, what are you doing?
This is what happens when you graduate from medical school having performed less than 100 surgeries.
Yeah.
And someone sends you on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And says, yeah, go do that.
This person somehow survives the surgery but has a very bad infection and gets sent to a different hospital, but they suffer permanent damage to their vocal cord and cannot speak above a whisper for the rest of their life. Dr. Kirby is another doctor that comes in and kind of teams up with Henderson to put an end to Duntsch. They start informing hospitals and doctors about him, so he gets revoked from Legacy now, moves to a general hospital where he performs a surgery on Jeff Glidewell, who's 49, has neck pain. He's 3 hours late to the surgery, but rushes them into it. His signature move is to sever the vertebral artery, cause excessive bleeding, the usual.
Okay, this is starting to sound like he's really doing this on purpose.
Yeah. He claims to spot a tumor, but I think at that point, like, the other nurses and doctors in the room are like, okay, no, get this guy away from the patient, and they, sew him up. But a sponge gets left behind. I spilled my coffee.
Oh no.
That's okay.
Fumble.
No.
Yes. We will get something for you.
Dun dun.
No, Duntsch, Duntsch, Duntsch.
This is why we can't have nice things, Ashley. You're fired. Go home.
He brought the whole roll of paper towels. What a guy.
What a guy. This is your commercial break.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I just got so excited about the sponge getting left behind, and they sewed it up in there.
I just hit my knee on the table. All right, we're doing great, guys. Is it bedtime yet?
No more coffee for me. And I guess it's not uncommon for foreign objects to get sewn up into the body sometimes.
Yes.
Oh.
Fun fact. So this Jeff Glidewell, he wakes up, he's numb. The hospital calls for Dr. Kirby to come help. And Kirby tried warning this hospital initially to not hire him, but they did anyway. So I'm not really entirely sure what happens to Glidewell. I mean, he's survived. I'm assuming he's going to go under another surgery and
Yes, to get the sponge out.
make some sort of recovery. We will move on to June 23rd, 2013. The Texas Medical Board receives a letter from Kirby that Duntsch is basically a sociopath and just he needs to be stopped. So, do they start listening to him? They do start an investigation.
Ashlee's like, I don't know. I don't remember this part.
Let me flip the page. So an investigation gets completed. Duntsch is suspended. His license gets suspended. But Henderson and Kirby, they know that's not enough for his license to just get suspended. So they do go to the district attorney to pursue criminal charges. Thank goodness. So now Duntsch's career is just falling apart. He and Wendy, the baby mama, they do separate, and Duntsch returns to Colorado to live with his parents. He is now $1 million in debt.
Oh,
$1 million.
cow.
So yeah, he never paid off any of his debt apparently. January 2014, downhill spiral. Here we go. He gets arrested for drunk driving. Fall 2014. Oh, he tries kidnapping his son. He wants to get his son back. Spring 2015, he's like wearing scrubs and banging on a Dallas bank.
So he left Denver and went back to Dallas to get his son.
Yeah.
I think he was supposed to go there for like visitation or something.
Maybe.
And tries to leave with.
Yeah.
Oh.
He tries taking him. Also in that same spring 2015, he shoplifts $900 worth of merchandise from Walmart. July 2015, he gets arrested on 5 accounts of aggravated assault and 1 count injury to the elderly. So finally, he gets arrested for all of his surgeries after being arrested multiple times for other crazy things. So I guess in Texas, and I don't know what it's like now, but I guess there was at least a law that would make it difficult to arrest a doctor for crimes during surgery. I don't know all of like the specifics on it, but there was some law that does protect doctors to an extent.
So that's how he got away with all this for so long? Because like all of this fast forwarded 3 years. Like went from 2012 to 2015 real quick.
It wasn't just the laws. I mean, it was also the Spine Institute wanting to protect their reputation, the hospitals, like protecting their investment.
Just swiping it under the rug for so long.
Exactly. Just telling him to move on. You can't work here.
Well, think about how much money a hospital would lose if it was publicly known that they allowed a surgeon of that nature to operate on so many patients and then they did nothing about it. I mean...
Yeah, because then the target becomes the facility.
And no matter if you have the world's top surgeon there now, they don't, they're not going to, people aren't going to want to go have surgery at your hospital.
Nope.
Prosecutors need to prove Duntsch's malpractice. So there's a trial for 13 days. And after 4 hours of jury deliberation, on February 20th, 2017, 45-year-old Duntsch is sentenced to life in prison with a possibility of parole in 2015, which I didn't look into that, but I'm hoping...
Wait, in 2017 was the trial.
Oh.
So how could he possibly be eligible for parole in 2015?
My chicken scratch. Parole in 2045, not 15.
Okay.
Okay.
Good catch.
I'm sure he'll die before then.
Good catch. Yeah,
Something will happen.
Once all this stuff started surfacing, there's obviously many lawsuits on all of these hospitals.
Yeah.
And the Texas medical system.
They should have just faced the music the first time around. It would have been a lot less
a lot less
harsh.
Money.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's all I have. That's all my notes. What do you guys think his motive was?
I think he's just
Yep.
There was no motive. It sounds like he was just ego-filled and enjoyed the power that he
That's exactly
created for
Just
himself.
getting away with it one after another.
Yeah. It was a
Insane.
thrill.
Well, you know, becoming a surgeon was a power move because, you know, he sucked at football.
Yep.
Yeah, he just kind of failed at one thing and was like, well, I'll try this, and kept failing at it, but
That's a lot
Didn't
of
get
work to put yourself through just to kill people.
It's a lot of energy exerted.
Yeah. All while on cocaine and vodka.
Yep, lots of cocaine before these surgeries.
Man.
I could not imagine.
Imagine if you put all that effort and all of that
Into being a good
determination
person.
in, like, yeah,
into being a talented surgeon.
yeah, exactly. I mean, he could have probably, unfortunate for all the victims.
100%. I just think that this man was not talented at anything other than being a bad person.
Yep, definitely abused his status of
Well,
being
and
a
imagine
doctor.
if you're going in for back surgery, like you're already so nervous because, you know, like one tiny little move the wrong way could paralyze you for life, or, you know, paralyze your mind. And so you really need to trust whoever's, you know, in charge of that for you. And man, he really took advantage of people and their
spine
trust.
is no joke.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I'm not saying like if someone was cutting off toes, it wouldn't be a big deal, but man, spine surgery is like, hey, this is life or death for sure here, or quality of life or death. So don't do what Chris Duntsch did. If you are not a qualified surgeon, please do not perform surgeries. And if you are a qualified surgeon and you faked your way until you made it, maybe check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Please reconsider. Just reconsider. Learn how to use a scalpel correctly. And so stay tuned. So in 2 weeks, we will have another episode of Healthcare Horrors. And until then, I don't know, be cool. Don't spill your coffee like I did.
Yeah, don't do that.
Murder. Thank you for listening to Healthcare Horrors, brought to you by Atlas MedStaff. Just a reminder, we are not healthcare professionals. We are just fans of true crime, talking about some of history's darkest moments in healthcare. Stay tuned, stay healthy, and stay safe.